Brookhaven was the kind of town that looked perfect on the outside. A quiet, suburban dream wrapped in neatly trimmed lawns, pristine sidewalks, and an unshakable air of small-town hospitality. But underneath, the town had its ghosts, its sins buried under a thin veneer of civility. For those who didn't fit the mold, those whose skin was a few shades darker, the illusion of peace was a dangerous lie. Sister Margaret had walked these streets countless times, grocery bags in hand, a quiet force of kindness amid a world that too often turned its back. She had seen hardship, understood suffering, and spent her days working at the local shelter, offering what little comfort she could to those in need. On this sweltering afternoon, she carried only the basics: bread, milk, a few cans of soup, just enough to keep the shelter stocked for another couple of days. As she neared the bus stop, she spotted a boy, no older than 14, shifting uneasily by an ATM. His sneakers were worn, his t-shirt hung loosely on his thin frame, and his hands trembled as he dug through his pockets. Sister Margaret recognized the look: hunger, worry, maybe even shame. She approached with gentle certainty. "You all right, son?" she asked, her voice calm, reassuring. The boy flinched, wide eyes darting up to meet hers, like a deer caught in headlights. He hesitated, then exhaled sharply. "I don't have enough," he admitted. "I need $5 more. That's for my insulin." A pang hit Sister Margaret's chest. She had seen too many families pushed to the brink, struggling to afford what should have been a basic right. Without hesitation, she reached into her pocket, pulled out a crumpled $5 bill, and pressed it into his palm. "Here," she said. "Get what you need." For a second, the boy just stared at the money, as if afraid it might disappear. Then, with a rushed "thank you," he turned and sprinted toward the pharmacy down the block. "Sister," Margaret smiled, feeling a small sense of satisfaction. A single act of kindness. A fleeting moment of relief. Then a shadow fell over her. "What's going on here?" The voice was flat, authoritative. Sister Margaret turned and found herself staring into the mirrored sunglasses of Officer Grayson. She knew his type before he even spoke. A man who carried himself like he was the law incarnate, square-jawed, buzz-cut, thumbs hooked into his duty belt. A stereotype in the worst way. "I just helped that boy," Sister Margaret said evenly. "He needed a few dollars for his medication." Officer Grayson tilted his head, considering, then smirked. "Are you sure he wasn't just hustling you? You know how these kids are." Sister Margaret felt something cold settle in her chest. "That child is sick. He needed help, not suspicion." Officer Grayson took a slow step forward. "Or maybe you just funded his next bad decision." "That's an ugly assumption, officer." "It's my job to assume the worst," he said, voice hard. "Keeps the streets clean." The air between them thickened like the sky before a storm. Then, suddenly, Officer Grayson flipped a switch. "Drop the bags. Hands behind your head." Sister Margaret blinked, stunned. "Excuse me." "You heard me." Around them, conversations died. People slowed, some reaching for their phones, ready to record. This wasn't the kind of thing people ignored anymore. "What exactly am I being accused of, officer?" Sister Margaret asked, keeping her voice steady even as her pulse spiked. Officer Grayson adjusted his stance like he was settling into something familiar. "Noncompliance." Sister Margaret let out a slow breath. She knew exactly what was happening, and judging by the silent crowd and raised phones, so did everyone else. But no one was ready for what came next. The moment Officer Grayson latched onto her wrist, her whole body went stiff. It wasn't just the force of it, though that was bad enough. It was the sheer disrespect. She had been grabbed before, by frightened kids, by weeping mothers seeking comfort. But never like this. Never with violence behind it. The plastic grocery bags slipped from her fingers, hitting the pavement with a dull thud. Apples tumbled across the sidewalk. A can of beans rolled into the gutter, and a half-gallon of milk burst open, white liquid spreading like a crime scene. But Sister Margaret wasn't looking at that. She was staring at Officer Grayson, at the way his fingers dug into her skin, at the flicker of something dark and satisfied in his smirk. "You're under arrest," he said. "For what?" "Noncompliance." That did it. The crowd, which had been watching in stunned silence, came alive. Voices rose like a wave. Are you serious? She didn't do anything. Let her go. Phones were out, cameras rolling. The whole town would see this within minutes. But Officer Grayson didn't seem to care. His grip tightened. Are you resisting? He growled. Sister Margaret winced. You're hurting me. That should have been the end of it. But it wasn't. Because instead of letting go, Officer Grayson swung. Not a shove. Not a slap. A full force, knuckle to bone, rage-filled punch. The kind that cracks ribs. The kind that's meant to hurt. The kind that's never meant for a woman of God. Sister Margaret barely had time to react before the impact sent her crashing onto the pavement. The back of her head snapped back, pain exploding through her skull. For a moment, just a terrifying moment, she couldn't breathe. She tasted blood, warm, metallic, thick on her tongue. Her cross, the one she had worn every single day for over 40 years, snapped from her neck and landed beside her, broken clean in half. And for a single, suffocating second, there was nothing. No movement. No sound. Just the shocking reality of what had just happened. Then chaos erupted. Underscore 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 underscore. Sirens screamed through the streets of Brookhaven as backup arrived. Officer Grayson barely had time to register the oncoming patrol cars before the voices of the crowd became deafening. Civilians rushed forward, demanding justice, their phones capturing every angle of the brutality. In the distance, the town's mayor, under immense pressure from both the media and the people, issued an emergency order. Officer Grayson was arrested on the scene, charged with aggravated assault and abuse of power. Within the hour, a special court session convened, and the evidence was undeniable. The jury deliberated for only minutes before handing down their verdict, guilty on all counts. The judge, determined to set an example, delivered the sentence that sent shockwaves through the nation. 300 years in prison. Justice had come to Brookhaven, and the town would never be the same again.